All right, this is the scene that follows the climax of the story, where Willie was confronted by his son Biff in the hotel room with having his son realize that he was, in fact, unfaithful to his wife being their mother. And so now we are faced in the scene where Willie, of course, knowing that Biff was unable to make sales with the Oliver and him getting fired and all of that breaking down on his shoulders, is on a very critical point where he's unable to either make right decisions or he's able to see clearly what needs to be done. Of course, it depends how you look at it. And seeing Ben being his brother, the ghost, and us not knowing whether this is a form of hallucination, whether this is simply him recalling those last moments before Ben left, or whether it is those words coming back to him. It's late, the boat is waiting, I'm going to Africa, it's dark, but full of diamonds. And so the reader is struggling, and that's what makes the text so significant, because there is constantly a struggle between what is literally being said and what the reader implicitly can draw from those words, and what could the reader actually understand from it. So the presence of a dead person, a ghost, we've had that in Julius Caesar, we've had that in Macbeth, and so always the presence of a ghost brings with it a form of leverage, of truth. And in literature, having a dead person, having a ghost, usually gives us that sense that something true is about to be revealed. And what is revealed? The calamity of the situation is quite drastic. Willie, being the Willie Loman, a man of so much willingness, yet quite low in life and unsuccessful and a failure in all possible senses, is faced with the situation, with the prospect of committing suicide, and in a very absurd manner, thinking that the money would be a bless for his failing sons, specifically Biff. And so what could be a better prospect than that sentence? A diamond. A diamond. A diamond is always a symbol of the highest form of value. And so that is what any man would strive for. However, diamond is also quite rough and hard, and it cuts through glass, and it's very hard to touch. If we do take diamond metaphorically, being the absolute truth that Willie needs to see, and Ben is there to show that truth, and he needs to go and find diamond in the dark metaphorically associated with death, then we can foreshadow the suicide that is about to take place, that he's about to go into the unknown, thinking that he would bring the diamond for his family, but in reality is actually the truth that he's trying to find, and he will ultimately see. And so what makes this scene quite interesting is the fact that it is the part where Biff breaks down. Just prior to that, and in this scene we have a recount on that. He breaks down in tears. And so this is the moment of tragic happiness for Willie. to see his son and to hold his son, and that's what he always wanted. He always wanted for his son to follow his footsteps, to acknowledge him, to understand him. And so in that desperate moment, he actually does get the chance to feel the warmth of the tears of his son. And so he's happy. He's committing suicide, but he's happy that he was able to hold his son, and then he feels in his own way that what he is doing is for his son. And so that brings us to the theme of the death of a salesman. It is the tragic truth behind the American dream of a father and a wife and two sons, exactly what a family needs. Linda does mention that we've just paid the last installment, and so we're free. Free of what? You know, what is this American dream that kept men chasing for a success that was always so far-fetched and always so difficult to feel and to grasp and to hold and to cherish from? And it is that separates between the man and his son, between a father and his son. And that brings us to the second theme of the play, which is father-son relationship and the generation gap that Arthur Miller loves to work on. This is basically a form of theme that Arthur Miller really enjoys. It seems that he feels very passionate about it. Whether it was in All My Sons, between Joe Keller and Chris, his son, and that generation gap that the father felt whatever he's doing is for his family, and ultimately led to the death of his elder son Larry, and then Chris realizing it, and that shattered everything for Joe Keller. And then we flash back here to Willie and spending his whole life trying to become the father that he never had, the father that left him when he was only 3 years old. And so that tragedy, that vacuum that was inside of him was always a problem, that he always felt he had to fill it with the love of his sons, following his footsteps. And then he had lost his hope in Happy quite earlier on, and it was Biff that it was what he always admired. He always wished the best for him, and seeing him fail, seeing him not follow his footsteps, seeing him wishing that he would go to the West, to Texas, and start a ranch and become a carpenter, things that he couldn't digest. He just couldn't see his son not following his dream. And so he always felt that it was that vacuum that his father left him that might be what his son needs. And it's ironic because at the end of the day, although he spent most of his life being there for his sons, but at the end, he too, much like his father, left him. And so that's what makes it so tragic. And so that brings us to the third theme of the play, which is human life, and how precious human life is, and how worthless it is in our world, but how precious human life could be, yet how unimportant it has become, that he says, I'm worth more dead than alive. And that's tragic, that human life that should be the source of all the income, of all that generates life and money and assets, is actually worth now less alive than dead. And that brings us to the ending of the story, and that makes it what's so tragic, because that's all the family needed, their father, and he took that away from them, trying to be a father in his own way that he had failed to be in the past. And that's what makes Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman a masterpiece. And I really enjoyed reading that. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. Thank you.